Okay, so crazy idea. We're getting tons of international interest. A global rollout would be a huge hit. Let's talk after lunch. Global rollout. Where do we start? Already done?
Awesome.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Replit Deep Dive live build. Super excited to build today. I've been tinkering with some visuals, and yeah, it seems like folks are enjoying that. And after last week's stream too, so this is going to be another I think action-packed build, but I'm a little more confident with everything this week. But yeah, Francisco, what's going on? How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Really excited about last week. Just first of all, a huge thanks to all the community who participated in any part of it, right? The launch videos, the launch streams, sharing on socials, and even just trying it and kind of diving in, being some of the first people in the world to kind of really try it out on their projects. Like, we just really appreciate you. I was here for Agent 3, which felt like probably like 2 or 3 years ago, but it was more like 5 or 6 months ago. And it was incredible to see how everything changed. So just again, huge shout out to the community. It's been incredible to kind of build side along, with you. And there's just so much more coming. That's why I'm just so excited. But yes.
Yeah. Okay, so let's take you through. We got to run a show up on the screen. We're going to do a little quick intro. Shout out to the folks in the audience that are always with us. I saw Ruth and KG, Rick in the house. What's up, Della Schmidt? Fura City, just seeing a bunch of folks. It's really cool to see Chad. Oh, Parkhurst. I think Manny, that's one of your guys that you were that you chatted with. Yeah, it's just super cool to see folks coming back week after week. And so shout out to you all. We do have a stream poll. If you're not familiar with the show, we're going to have interactive slides. We've got some polls for you. We're even going to have a moment where we can fork the direction of the show, where you all will get to pick. Do we kind of keep going in the same build, or do we kind of go in a new direction? And so anyway, let's run through this real quick here. We'll do a review of what we built last week. Let me just show that real quick. If you were with us, we did a single-use encrypted chat app where rooms self-destruct and messages leave no trace. That was super cool. It was a very intense build. I've actually taken a little bit of time with this since the last stream and totally kind of refined everything here, so you can go and create a secure identity and start a new chat, and that creates a secure chat that you can share with anybody with either a private link or a public link. You can even add a passphrase to make this feel like a speakeasy. This works on mobile and desktop, and so we'll be releasing that as a remixable app. This is super cool. Again, when you're done with this, you can just burn this, and then you can burn your identity, and there's no trace of the chat or the messages or anything that was inside of there. So that's something cool. We built that last week. This week, we're going to build a 3D visualization. At the end of the stream, we will have a dynamic visualization that represents a large data set as an interactive 3D city. We've seen things like this. I'll show you some demos that have gone viral over the last couple weeks, which is where we got some of the inspiration for this. And we'll just kind of talk through how the build is made, how I approached this, how we got into this, and kind of explain a little bit about BigQuery and Replit's potential with these data connectors that we have at our disposal inside of this platform. And so we're going to just kind of talk through all of that today during the stream. So Francisco, do we have any cool community updates you want to share with folks as we go through this coming up?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, I get a huge thanks out to everyone who kind of just joined for our streams last week. We got experimental with our live from HQ, and I think people had a
Mm.
wonderful time. Not only did the community have a wonderful time, but the office did as well. We've gotten a lot of messages and a lot of notes around lunch that they'd love to do more. So hopefully next time Manny and Reimar are in town, we'd love to do a little bit more of that again, and just kind of continue to kind of experiment. A huge shout out to Reimar who kind of put it all together, over like honestly a couple of past months, and it's just been very, very cool to kind of, just get together and see. We saw Amjad, we saw Haya, Peter, some of our engineers, and kind of got a behind the scenes look of how things came together in the history of Replit along the way. So many more streams to come like this, to come very, very soon. Yeah, it was just so much fun to have all the time with
This
you.
this has to be one of my favorite streams we've ever done. Actually, let's do this real quick. Let's just bring. I think. Oh, you know what? Let me also add Francisco to this scene. But this was just sorry, Manny, throwing you on the spot here. But this was probably one of the coolest streams we've done inside HQ. We would love to do more stuff like this. But yeah, just real quick, your thoughts on this stream from last week.
I love the mix of content that we had on Friday and the energy. The fact that it was in the office, people loved it. Repliteers loved it. Walking by, being in the shot, coming on stage. We did demos. We did some live banter. We had guests. We had Amjad. We had Haya come on. No, it was great. I think it was just a little bit of everything. And from the chat was loving it. Like some folks posted that this was our best live stream ever. So I think we just got to do more of this.
Yeah, 100%. Super cool. Agree. A lot more of this to come. Anyway, Manny is going to be in the background, hanging out in the comments. We'll bring him in just a second. But yeah, wanted to touch base on that. See it here in a sec, Manny. And then let's go back to the slides here, and let's go to this. So that was a recap. Oh yeah. I don't know if we're going to say much more than big announcement on Friday, right,
I
Francisco?
think that's all we really got to say. We're
That's
really
it.
excited. We
That's all
learned
you
a
get.
lot, a lot of community stuff. People have been asking for a lot of things, and we're going to be hopefully bringing a lot of those things to you. Keep an eye out for our Friday showcase. We'll kind of be doing a bigger announcement near the end of the show, or maybe the beginning, depending on how it kind of flows. There's just a lot more to come, and we're very excited about it. That's all we'll say about that.
All right, that's all you get. And then if you're in our Discord, sorry, I'm going to jump in on your toes here a little bit, but if you're in our Discord right now from the old mobile build-a-thon, we're going to be shutting that down this week. We said we're going to shut it down this past Friday, but we're going to give folks one final week to kind of migrate over. The new Pro Discord is open. If you go to communityhub.replit-app/Discord. We'll share it in the links here. You can claim that now as a pro. If you are part of the build-a-thon, you should also have access. If you're an ambassador, you should have access. And if you are a Replit employee and you would like to also join, you could go ahead and log in with your Replit ID and you will have access as well. And we will be rolling the rest of that out in phases, just kind of as we grow and expand the rollouts. So yeah, did I miss anything there, Francisco? Any other things you want to mention?
No, that's fantastic. I saw a couple of questions come in, and I'll touch upon them lightly. So Play Store app support is coming soon. That is something that was very much top of mind coming out of the Build-a-thon. So that's we're thinking through that currently. And then Chris asking about Stripe and just like payments in general. That is also incoming, kind of getting continuously improved all the time. But also we have some cool stuff coming up with Revenue Cat that we'll be announcing very, very soon. There's already something in there, but again, get a lot more just cohesive and support there in general. Other than that, I just want to say thank you all so much for joining for our streams today again. Again, please keep an eye out on Friday. There's so much more to come. And with that, I'll pass it back over to Reimar.
All right, great. So for anyone who's new, again, I mentioned we're going to have these live interactive sessions. So if you go to streampolls.replit.app, you can join with the session code, or you can just scan to join this room. And we're going to go ahead and get that started right now with the first poll. So we're just going to ask two questions. One is, what's your experience level with Replit? And again, this is in the YouTube link. If you'd like, you will end up in a place here called livebuild.replit.app. So there's two things we kind of do on a regular basis with the stream. One is we track all the different projects we build. So if you want to come to livebuild.replit.app, you can always kind of see the different projects. And on the homepage, you'll see what we're going to be working on today. There, you'll also see all of the different resources we mentioned in the stream. So the live stream poll that we were just on is there, linked in the YouTube description. And I'm going to go ahead and drop this in the chat. Live polls. And then let's drop the live build link, because inside of here, you can also suggest, and we'll pin this one. If we could pin this most recent one here, let's pin this. Let's see, live resources. Let's drop that in the link, and we'll go ahead and pin that one too. Because at some point, again, like I said, we're going to fork, and you all can suggest features. I think this might be a fun one where we go in and actually midway through the build, we can start playing with some features that are suggested by the audience. So we like to get interactive with the folks. So 25 total responses. Let's give this some time for folks to jump in. Let's also ask, have you started using Agent 4? So we'll go ahead and get feedback to that as well. We'll give folks some time to just trickle in online. We usually end up with a couple hundred answers here, and this helps us shape kind of what we're going to do. And so let me talk just a little bit about how we got here. What are connectors? What is BigQuery? Oh, Francisco, I'm going to go ahead and sign out from you and go full screen on this here. Okay, let's go here. Oh, and let's drop this one. And let's go just a bit bigger. All right. So a little while back, I was having this idea about GitHub profiles for Replit users. Just recently, I've joined and started working with them as a contractor. And then we had this mobile build-a-thon. So I'm just kind of walking you through how I got to BigQuery. And during the BigQuery situation, or I'm sorry, during the mobile build-a-thon, we got some sketchy submissions. And what I mean by this is, like, it seemed like folks were building stuff, but not inside of Replit. And so a couple of the submissions came through, and we had no real good way to check as a community team. And so I got access to BigQuery. BigQuery is basically a big data lake. It's a data bucket. You've heard Manny talk about like Snowflake and Databricks is like some of these enterprise big data lakes, data pools. And so BigQuery is just a tool for accessing SQL requests from a large data lake, from the Google Cloud Console where Replit stores all their data. And so I got, to tinkering with some of this. And we'll hopefully share something. This is not the announcement, but what we did was we were able to find out, okay, how are people building? What is their actual usage inside of Replit? And that became this little GitHub style demo page that some of you saw us tease on X. Now, this isn't available to the community yet, but we are thinking about how can we put this together for the community. But as I was building these little pages, I started thinking, what if, and that's, let's see, I think I have the demo page here. So, it has basically a GitHub style commit graph, and this is just a cool intro to like visualizations, right? So we're taking big data and we're kind of bringing it in and using it to visualize data. And so this just gives me how many prompts I sent over the last 90 days. And so as I was sharing this around, and as I saw some things last week, kind of floating around, or the last couple things floating around online, I started thinking, what could we do to take this data and take it one step further? Which is where this came from, right? This is how we got here. And this is the exact same data you're looking at in this chart, right? And so, two views on essentially the same data is what we have here. One is a lot more interactive. One is a lot more, refined. And what we're going to do today is we're going to try to rebuild this. And what you've seen me click on a couple times is an early version of this thing. And what we can do is we can go back in time. We can time travel through this. You saw me do that last week. But what we're going to do, like we always do, is, again, on this live build site, we have some prompts. So I'm just going to come over here and grab this prompt. And this is a prompt that I've created. And as I send this prompt in, we'll explain the connectors. We'll explain what the prompt is doing. But we're just going to throw this in here. But there's a second prompt I'm going to give this. And this is where things get a little complicated. Not really complicated, but this is something I have created and I asked the agent to do. We're going to go through and talk about how you can do this. This all came through the BigQuery connector. This looks big and complicated. It looks like there's some code inside of here. This is the SQL request, right? We've talked before about how we have a Replit database, and in that database is data, and then you can make requests from that data, and this is what like an API is typically doing. Well, when you use something like a BigQuery connector, what you're doing is you're saying, hey, I want to make a request, but to a different database, not the one that's tied to my Replit project. I want to query this big Google data lake that has all of this other data inside of it. And to do that, you need to make a query, right? And that's what this BigQuery is. It's a tool that allows you to make these queries to combine and pull in data from across a number of really large databases. Now, this may be a little more complicated than you're used to as a general Replit user, but there's a lot of folks who do have access to these like big enterprise data sets, and they're thinking about, hey, what could I do with this? And you could use this for any kind of data set. This is just, again, an example of a big one. So I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to throw it in with the prompt as well. So basically what I'm telling it, and inside of this prompt, I said the attached SQL query, right? And so what I'm doing is I'm giving it additional context here with that query. And so this is basically going to tell it what to do. And I'm just going to go ahead and send this. I'm not going to plan. I'm not going to think this through. We're just going to send it. But I'm going to read what this prompt is as we go through. And let me zoom in just a bit. Okay. So I want to build a 3D visual environment called Replitopolis. Remember, we always talk about how the simplicity of Replit, the power of Replit is that you can just talk to it, right? And so we can go back, if anybody would like, we can go back into my history of the old chat. And if you saw the initial prompt that I sent the agent way back when, it's way more rudimentary than the one we just sent. But I'm gonna show you what we sent here, and then we can just dive in and yeah, see what we get. Okay, so I want to build a 3D visual environment called Replitopolis. This should be a 3D city viewer, kind of like Minecraft meets SimCity meets Farmville. Again, I'm just kind of describing what I want. And again, this is coming from the initial prompt that I've modified here. We will leverage the BigQuery connector and use the Replit user data table, leveraging the attached SQL query. So basically what I'm saying is I want to use the Replit connector that talks to BigQuery, and I want to use this attached SQL query. The 3D, I'm just telling it this because I did some discovery and tinkering. So I told it kind of what front end I wanted it to use, 3D front end React plus 3 Fiber. I almost never give it details about that, but in this instance, I just wanted to kind of recreate what I had already gone through. And then I'm giving it some basic math. Every X number of checkpoints, which is in the query, equals a new floor in the building. We need to make sure the calculations so the buildings remain proportional and realistic. The building should be scattered around the city in a grid in order to approximate heights to approximate a real city skyline. So what I'm kind of telling it is like, I don't want this just to be in a flat grid, which I think we'll actually get anyway, as you can see from this demo. It's not going to come very pretty, right? The first version of this will not be very pretty. I imagine we'll get something like this from V1 here. So we're just going to let the agent work. Let's see what it's going to tell me here. It's excited on the project. Here's what it'll build: backend API, front end React Vite. Okay, buildings without proportional heights based on checkpoint counts. Okay, let me get started by setting up the BigQuery. Okay, so this is the first thing we're going to do. I already have BigQuery set up, but if you didn't, you can just come back to your tabs. Again, everything in Replit happens in these tabs. So I'll just come to my integrations tab, and you'll see that I have Google BigQuery set up here. So I can see all of the connectors that are available inside of Replit here, and I can pick to connect those directly. Or when I ask the agent will just ask me to click the button, and I will authorize that just like I would sign into anything. Just like if I logged into any one of these applications, it's going to bring me to an OAuth screen. And then I can just log in with my Google credentials or my your single sign-on, whatever the platform requests. If it's Notion, you'll sign in with your Notion credentials. If it's Dropbox, you'll sign in with your Dropbox credentials. And in this case, it is the Google BigQuery. So I'm signing in with my Replit Google email address. I don't want to reconnect this and show you how to do it because it'll disconnect other things that I have in the workspace. But the agent, again, will just prompt you. You'll click a button that says approve, and it will just make the connection for you. You'll then authorize that application, and Replit will just know how to talk to that integration. There are a ton of really cool integrations that you should check out, and I just encourage you on your own time to go through and just see what's available on the back here, because you can build really cool stuff. Okay, so let's go back to what the agent's doing. So it's set up the BigQuery integration, and maybe if you have any questions specifically about BigQuery, connectors, whatever, leave those in the chat, and we're going to go to Q&A here in just a second, and we'll try to answer as many of those questions as we can. All right, so BigQuery is already authorized. Let me propose BigQuery integration. Okay, so it's connected. Boom, artifact is created. If you're new with Agent 4, you'll remember that we talked a little bit about the new UI here. So we have this cool canvas where we can see that the agent is working. If we were working on different artifacts, or if, let's say, we wanted to build a mobile app, or if we wanted to turn this into a slide presentation or something else, we could do that inside of here. That's a cool new feature of Agent 4, which we covered in the live stream last week. We built a mobile app and a web app in the same environment. I think we even built a slide deck and some other stuff Manny was tinkering with in the background. So yeah, go check out all the cool new features with Agent 4 if you're seeing some new stuff in the UI that you don't understand here. So one thing I want to do is let's go back and see how different this prompt is from what I gave it before, because I want you to show that my first prompt was really crude, and we can even, okay, so I want to build a visual 3D visual environment called Replit. Same thing, right? 3D city viewer, kind of like Minecraft meets SimCity meets Farmville. So mostly it was the same thing. What I didn't know here was I said we can use something like these languages to build this. And what I did initially was go to Google and I said, hey, what types of things would I use for something like this? And it gave me a couple different ones, and I gave it some rough ideas for what I wanted the math to do. So what you saw in this most recent prompt that I did was I just kind of cleaned up a little bit of the math and learned a little bit from my early discovery, so we don't have to stumble through all that live. So hopefully what we'll see as something comes in here is pretty quickly a simulation of what we have. And again, it won't be as pretty, it won't be as nice, but let's see what we got. API needs a restart. So we've already got the base layer here. And let's go, let's see if we have some stuff. Manny, I'm gonna come to you here. Let's go to this. And let's just see, I've kind of dropped, oh, we got Francisco in the mix too. Let me just drop Francisco here. Caught him.
Unexpected.
All right. Yeah. So Manny, what's coming in on the chat? I've covered a lot. I've covered quite a bit. So any questions, anything we should slow down for before we get too far into this thing here?
Some questions around the SQL query. So maybe you can talk a little bit about SQL, what it is, and then also how you got to that original query. And then maybe some commentary, like if someone's not familiar with SQL, how should they approach this?
Yeah, so you don't have to be familiar with SQL because Replit will write that for you. And so what we did here, like what you can do is you can just ask it, right? So like now that I have this set up here, and maybe it's not done working, and we can see that some of these checkpoints are not showing up properly. So we might have to do a little debugging here. But what you can do is you can just ask the agent, right? So like when I first started tinkering with this, when I first built this thing here, I had to find what the databases were, what the database was. And to be honest, this all started from trying to figure out how do we do this thing, which is how do we gate Discord access for different plan levels. And so basically what I did was I went into BigQuery or into the agent here, and we can do this, and we can say, can you give me a rundown of the databases that we're using for this project here? And it looks like we're pulling in some pricing data, which we don't need in our demo here. Can we remove that from our API requests? I'm also not seeing the buildings on the map. Can we check into what's going on there? So again, like everything else, you just kind of ask the agent. And so I asked it, hey, what data do we have access to here? And it said, oh, we have this database. And actually somebody on the team pointed me to like a specific database because there's lots of databases back here. And we could try writing a new SQL query if you want. We can go, this is a demo site that I just started here. So can we take a look at the query that we're using to pull the data back from BigQuery here? Can you just give me a rundown of the actual SQL query and explain what it's doing?
Yeah, and Reimer, I think we refer to this as chatting with the connector internally. So the connector helps you set up to a database, but also helps you explore the workspace where that database lives. So for demos in the past, where like Snowflake and Databricks, what I would do is I would set up the connector, and then I would chat with the connector, say, "Tell me all the databases that you have access to. Tell me about the schemas. Give me information on it." So it's almost my data analyst into that workspace and all the databases that were in that workspace. So here, Reimar is chatting with the connector as well to get help with that, to get that final prompt.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I mean, okay, so if you don't know much about an SQL query, then the first thing you need to know is that an SQL query is like making a request to the database, which we talked about that. Like the database is MySQL, MySQL. You might hear people refer to it as SQL. And so an SQL query is basically just the way the computer allows the console, a code base, anything else to kind of just talk to the backend database. And so An SQL query like this could be doing something like, hey, I want to pull from this table, I want to pull just the column. Let's say it's a user table and we have usernames, first name, last name, email, whatever, right? So we might have a users table. And then we might have in the database a separate table that's like checkpoints or usage or billing or something like that, right? And so you have these two records. Well, you have two separate tables there. An SQL query will allow you to pull data from, let's say, the first table, let's say username, email, and user account ID. And then we can look up in the other table based on that first record, the user ID's usage, let's say, right? And so I could, with an SQL query, return back from a database with a bunch of separate tables, a unified object that says over this much time. And that might be coming from 3 different sources, but I want the front end to see it as a single unified source. And so that's what the SQL query is doing. And you can kind of just, again, talk to the agent about how to dig into that. And so here, what I've asked it is explain the SQL query we're using. And so what it's doing is step 1, we're going to look up their plan. So it's going to look up Stripe, then op, or, like this, it's looking through these different databases. Then it's going to look at their checkpoints. So it's looking at their different sessions and it's giving me 3, 7, or 30-day windows. So again, like I'm kind of creating these filterable views on a mixed data set and unifying this with this SQL query, which now gives me a unified data object to use inside this visualization that we represent as buildings or rough kind of 3D mockups here. So let me go back to and I don't know if that really explains it. It's very hard to just, like in a couple minutes, explain an SQL query. But the biggest thing is that if you just need to talk with the agent, right? A lot of this came from me just saying, hey, what data do we have available? How can I use it? Where can I find it? And then, asking internally, like usually if you're going to have access to a data set like this, there's probably somebody who knows where that data lives or how, it's working. So between asking the agent and hopefully asking, internally, you should be able to find out where does the data sit. And if you're doing this with like a smaller data set, like one you control inside of your Replit account, then it's super easy. You don't need to use a connector. You can literally write the same type of SQL queries or have the agent write the same type of SQL queries against your native database. So let's go back over here. Okay, there we go. Now we've got buildings. And look at this crazy like arrangement it did for these. I wonder how it decided to put these in like a play button type arrangement or something. But yeah, there you can see
agents getting creative
with that initial prompt. We essentially have, and I got a bunch of different variations of this. Like if we go back here, I think we showed this last time. I'm going to show you. Let's go all the way back to like the beginning of this original one, so you can see update BigQuery. That's the first one where I got like a building visualization. I'm just going to restore this. And if you're not familiar with what's happening right here, we're going to time travel a little bit in the original project. So you just saw, if you're watching from the beginning, we threw in this prompt, and approximately, let's see how long ago, 12 minutes ago, we put in this prompt to try to create a rough version of this building. And you might be saying, oh, this is so different than this thing, right? Like this thing that you built. But no, like, look, this is the first version of this thing that I got, right? So this is literally the first version of that beautiful cityscape that we were looking at. Looks just like this. And if we go through Git, I'm going to go back, and we're just going to time travel a little bit more. So we're going to time travel through this thing. And we're going to say that was 8 days ago. Let's see, enhanced city visuals with improved lighting and vibrant details. Let's restore this one. And so all I'm doing, discard those changes. We're going to restore. Oops. And we're going to come back to the preview. And what we'll see is we're going to time travel through this project. So all I did was I said, okay, like let me take that initial output and just start messing with it, right? Can we scatter them around? If you remember in the first one, they were kind of like really uniform the way they were stuck around. I said, let's scatter them and let's try to bring them to life. Let's try to represent some kind of visual language here. So let's go travel back through time a little bit. And we'll update some of this, but I just want to show you that this is not like, I didn't just like spit this thing out, right? Like this is something that over the course of days, let's see, update windows. I'm trying to, okay, let's see where we're at here. Let me restore these. So what I'm doing every time here is I'm restoring back to a specific checkpoint inside the project. And when you see me discard changes, I'm discarding the changes between the last checkpoint that I restored to and this current checkpoint. And what you'll see is every time I come to the preview, okay, so now between that last checkpoint and this checkpoint, we got closer to the city visualization. We might want to go back one more. And let's go back to like, let's go here. Okay, so now you're starting to see we got the beginnings of the leaderboard and the beginnings of the city, but the city still isn't as nice and pretty. So again, and then we don't have like greenery and the landscape around it. You know, we've got cars kind of driving into the middle of buildings. And so again, if we come back to our Git pane and we come back here, now what we'll see is we've got all these changes staged. I'm going to discard all these because I want to go back to my current state of the project, right? And we're going to go back to the current state of the project, and we will see now that I am live, and we can see now that all of our most recent updates are here. So this is where, and let's go back to our polls. Let's see, we got some not a ton of responses here, but here let's ask how we should move forward. Let's hide these polls, and we're going to give folks an option here. Should we continue building on this one? I'm happy to go through and show you how we turned this into this and start refining and make it beautiful. Or, you know, since we just kind of time traveled and I talked through some of that, we could come here and build on top of this. Somebody mentioned something like we could go and show this is like the full city and each user is one building. What if each user could see their own version of this? So we could build a mini version of this since we already have the visuals kind of baked here. We could probably start building off of this project, or we can continue building on this live one and just refine this as we go. So I would like to position that to the crowd, Manny, and maybe just go to the comments here for a little bit and riff back and forth. We're about 30 minutes into the stream. I think I have probably shown people a lot of potential, but I've probably confused a lot of people. I think we've bounced back and forth between like BigQuery and SQL and like a couple different projects here. So let's take a minute. Let's catch up with the audience. Let's make sure everyone's on the same page. And then we'll have this poll up. And let's see what people want to do. Do they want to see us build new features on the existing one or keep building out? And there's 75 folks online. It seems like there should be more of you. There's 530 on the live stream. So let's see if we can get some folks into the stream poll link here.
No, I think people are tracking pretty well for how complicated this is. A couple of questions that we're seeing in the chat. Number one is, okay, so like this is a database on Replit side, so you won't be able to access this same database. And so people want to know, how can I access my company's BigQuery or data warehouse so I can build in Replit? And I think the answer to that is you have to talk to IT about giving you access to that and helping you get set up. Fair, or any more to add to that?
No, yeah, that's right. The first thing is having access to this data. That's why I shared like this would not be possible if I was not a Replit. You know, like if I was not working with Replit right now, like if I was not doing work with them directly and had a Google account that they authorized me. And again, I still have read-only access to some tables, right? And so, yeah, first step is you need access to that, right? So that whether that's enterprise data connection, whether that's BigQuery, whether that's Databricks, whether that's Snowflake, whatever it is, first step is you have to have access to that data set. There are a ton of cool data sets. When I was researching this, I was like, what else could we do? There's some cool, like, you know, airplane traffic data sets, Starlink satellites. Like there's other stuff you can visualize, but yeah, having a cool data set makes this a lot more fun to experiment with and do something meaningful.
Yeah, and I would say, you know, maybe if you want to get some practice, don't wait on your company to give you access. That maybe takes a little bit of time. You can set up a BigQuery account. I know you can set up a Databricks account and a Snowflake account, and those with the free account, you'll get seeded with a couple of sample data sets that you can play with. So, for example, if you go to Databricks, you set up a trial account, you can go connect it to Replit and then have the connector tell you which data sets are available for you to play with. Same thing with Snowflake. So you can try that out to play around. And I'm sure there's a bunch of sample data sets in BigQuery as well for you to start building this muscle.
Yeah. And you don't even need, like, to do something like this, you don't need, like, here we go, is 146 rankings, right? This is, I've just sorted by the last 3 days of Replit internal usage. So this is this internal leaderboard. So shout out to Seiji and Emily and Jacob at the top, Nick, Cody, what's up, everyone? Everyone at the top, John,
Seiji,
Lando, Rick, Brendan. Yeah, everyone's killing it.
He just started.
Yeah, just So this is kind of cool. This is actually Replit employee usage of the platform itself. You don't need, a massive database for this. Like you could do something like this with your internal data set, right? Like I've created this because I had access to a large data set, but you could create this visualization with your user base. You could do this with a small database of 100 users, 50 users, whatever. You don't need to do that big a set. I do want to make sure, let me actually, before we get too much further, let me shout out 2 inspo projects, and I want to just show these here. Let me pull this over on the screen. This was a cool one that I saw that kind of was a little bit of inspo for this, as well as this one here.
Ooh.
So I'm going to bring these over, and I just want to give these folks their due because, as exciting as this is GitHub. So somebody took GitHub and went crazy with this one. This person probably has, this is like a big, I don't know, big. Maybe we'll get to this at some point, but you can like log in, you can collect you can like claim your building and see your custom stuff. You can fly. Also, if you saw levels.io did a little something like this recently with like his little game that he built. And then there's this thing by DataCity by Mark Liu. That's a very simple version, a little bit more similar to the one we're building here.
Is this for GitHub as well? This
no,
one,
this
Raimar?
is for analytics, your web analytics. So this is one of those things where it's like you put your website in here, and like each one of these is a page.
So
on
like
the
how much
analytics
traffic
side.
each one of the pages is getting.
Correct.
Obviously, the home page
Correct.
is going to be the high one right there.
Correct. Yeah. Exactly.
That's
and
fun.
then it shows your MRR, and I think this is by Mark Liu, who has this Trust MRR page, which is kind of cool. And so anyway, I just wanted to give inspiration their due for where this comes from. This is kind of a blend from, a couple of these projects with my own little twist, right? With my own little design twist. And, I put the little Ray special on this. So let's go see what are people saying they want to do here. Keep building out and refining the demo city. That can't be right. 8 responses. Something must be wrong with this today. This doesn't seem right that there's only 9 responses here, huh?
Yeah. If you had trouble going on to the polling question, drop it in the chat. Let us know.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Another question from the chat. Where is the data being stored, Raimar? So we're pulling the original data from BigQuery, from Replit, but then are you creating a copy of that data locally to reference it quickly, or are you just continually going back to that database?
So if we see here, I've just opened the database tab in the Replit project, and this is the live Replitopolis, the big.
Oh,
big
wow. Man, that's so cool.
There is no database. So this is basically that SQL query is just pulling and feeding this live filter table here. And then this filter table is modifying the search in real time. So let's say we want it by projects created rather than prompts sent. And this will just reload the data directly. So the cool part about an SQL query is that it's like a real-time query that can be sent to the database. And so what we're doing here is we're just basically, this whole UI is just shaping that SQL query, and then we filter it in real time. Oh, here we go. Ethan Torbenson coming in big. He'll appreciate getting a shout out.
Ethan.
And Jacob Eisner, based on the number of projects. So this is where it's a whole different metric, right? So this is where it's fun, where it's like previously we were looking at number of prompts sent. This is number of projects built. So some people, spend less time on specific projects. And again, so this is the cool part about visualizing the data and having, a cool way to look at this stuff. So
yeah, it seems like some folks are having trouble with the polling link, something about resetting after a few minutes once they respond. So
yeah, you know what happened is I think we had some security issues with this. And so before the show, I added a couple security things that I think might be locking this down just a little bit. So I will revise that. It does look like people are saying build new features, but it seems like before they were saying keep building out and refining the demo city. So let's do a little bit of both. Let's do a little bit of both. This is our city. So here's what we're going to do. We got the city back. It's in this like weird little play button configuration. So let me just show you how I would address this. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry, I was just that was cool. That's in the play button configuration.
Yeah, it's a weird.
It's just getting creative,
play button, right?
Yeah.
Okay, this is great. I'm seeing the initial part of our city here, but it's in a weird configuration. Almost looks like a play button. It doesn't look like a city layout. Also, the buildings seem to all be the same size. We probably need some better distribution between the scale of the buildings and the usage. Can we make sure 1 through 10 are clearly outlined as the top buildings, and then everything else has a some kind of scaled down measurement from there based on the number of checkpoints or contributions. One thing I also did a lot when I was doing this was, okay, let's do 3D city. So a lot of what I did was also I came to like image search here, and I found like some pictures of cities that I liked, and I just came in here and I screenshotted this, and I was like, boop, let's do this. And I come back to the agent, and then I'm going to start. Actually, let's. I won't do it in a second thread just because yeah, let's do it in a second thread. Let's put the agent to the test.
Here we go. Another task.
Okay, agent 4 feature, multi-threading. Let's see how it goes. All right, I like our 3D layout here, but visually the buildings are not too exciting. Can we take some inspiration from these photos and update the designs of our buildings? Oh, why is it doing that? Okay, let me grab this image again. Drop it in here. Okay, great. Let me grab more images. Let's see what else looks good. Let's see if it takes from this. This looks
Ooh,
cool.
little night mode.
Let's go crazy with it. Let's see if it takes some inspiration from this. And let's find one more. Let's find one more to fit in here.
Maybe like a
this
Tokyo.
one's nice too. This one's nice too. This one's like super futuristic, super modern. So
This is cool.
Yep.
This
just
also gets
grabbing-
Ruth's question. She was asking about styling the buildings. So if anything else you want to add around styling the buildings, maybe drop that in too.
And I wonder if did it not take these? Oh, okay, did it take the images? Okay, cool. So in a second thread, so what you're looking at here now is in Replit as part of the Agent 4 release. We have 2 threads, 2 agents kind of going in parallel. We have the main agent that's now working on a ranked ordering mechanism for our buildings, and it's still got it in this weird shape. So we'll keep messing with that. And then secondarily on the side here, we could see, or if I opened up this sidebar and I looked at my task board, I can see that it's thinking through another task here, right? And so I can now have parallel agents working in the background. And so what I'm doing with this parallel agent is asking it to start thinking about the styling while the main agent is working on the distribution, the layout, the other things related to the project. So this is one of those places where you can get like real gains from the Replit agent by using multiple parallel agents. And I believe everyone has access to this right now, Manny, but this will be a pro feature, I think, right?
The multitasking?
Yeah.
Let me double check.
Double check with the, I think everyone has access to it right now. So you should go in and experiment and play with that. But yeah, we're gonna see 2 things. So here's what happened. Okay, task plan created. So in the side, it created a separate task here. The current buildings are visually plain. Okay. So basically it's giving it then the images here. Goal is to make the buildings look sustainably more detailed and varied while keeping the existing data-driven layout. Great. It's going to give me what done looks like. Okay, this is great. What's out of scope. Okay. And then it's going to give you the outline, the tasks. I'm not going to look at this too much. I'm just going to send it. So I'm going to tell it to start building, and we'll go back because we're YOLO mode on these live streams, you know?
Okay, on parallelism, it's not available on the free tier. On the core plan, you can plan and dispatch the different tasks. So you can set them up and so that they run serially. So they'll run one after another. And then on pro plan, you can have them run in parallel. So again, free plan not available. In core, you can plan and line them up, and then pro, they run all at the same time.
So it's done something weird here. Thanks for the clarification, Manny. It's done something weird here, and it's still working. But you know, like it's just turned these into weird polyfills. This is one of those things that when you're playing with something like this, and you'll see it's not done working yet. I think it's probably something to do with the XY index, but it's still got in this weird shape. So let's see what it's gonna do here to kind of clean this up. But yeah, this is where we're now in experimental land. When you're working on something like this, you just kind of wrestle with the agent a little bit. I had moments like I'm not sure what these little checkpoints are. So let's see what it comes back with. Now it's refreshing the server. There we go. Now we've got other buildings. Oh, and it's totally separated them. See, you've got to be real specific with these AIs because it will just do stuff. But this is where it's fun. Okay, so now we've kind of got a nice little clustering. I don't mind how this is clustered, but what's going on back here? It's like totally separated them. So let's see what it's going to come back and say. And then again, none of our visuals will be applied because that's happening on the back side here, right? That's happening in this other setup. So let's go back to the main version and let's see what we've got. And you're also watching me kind of go in and out of the canvas here. Again, this is a super cool Agent 4 feature. Manny, should I invite you here to maybe make a deck that like shows these stats, or like some other leaderboard or some other artifact that like maybe works with this?
Invite me, let me in, dude.
Let him in, bro.
As you're doing that, yeah, Christine, the way this works is it's not that parallel agents is going to double your credits. You're essentially like, think of it as if you were running the prompt yourself, and it's just like the same cost that you would have if you were running the prompt sequentially or serially. So it's going to consume the same amount of credits as you would otherwise. So you may consume more credits at a time, but that's because you're doing more work at a time as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. And you'll want to start thinking too, like about how you order those out. The agent will do a good job of kind of thinking through like what is dependent on the other task. But this is where you're going to make your money as a vibe coder, is basically like learning how to break projects down. This is, if you talk to any developer, talk to anybody who quotes technical projects, talk to anybody who does anything technical, the place where people screw up the most is estimating and organizing projects. That's why the project management role is so important. That's why prompting is so important, because the clarity of what you're trying to do and an ordered set of instructions on how to get there is the whole job, right? It literally is the whole project from top to bottom. Okay. So this thing, it looks like, okay. So it looks like we have a center of our city here with the top buildings, but the rest of the buildings are kind of in a row away from the center of that building. I don't want them to be separated like this. What I would like is for this to look like an actual city. So we need to distribute our buildings across a grid in a way that feels natural in this environment, not just in a ring for the top 10 and then a row of all the other ones scattered in the background. This should feel like a unified skyline when I'm looking at it. Okay. And the agent here, what we're going to see do now is testing mode is on. App testing is on. I'm going to turn that off moving forward, but I'm going to let this play out. What this is actually going to do is it's going to try to load the application and test in real time. And this is very useful when you're running like high autonomy, or when you're wanting the agent to kind of examine or test things that are happening when you're not around. The agent will just open things up and test for you. I'm not sure if it's going to do the rendering inside of here, so let's see what happens when it's test failures expected, the automated test. Yeah, that's okay. That's what I thought. The WebGL is not going to load inside of there, so that's kind of what I thought. Okay, so let me send this prompt here. I'm going to push it in. Upgrade 3D building visuals. Let's see what's happening over here. So, and what we're going to see probably is that the layout will be a little busted over here because it's not merged with that other stack. So as we're seeing, I think, oh, it's a little dark now. It's a little dark. I don't know if you guys can see this. It's pretty dark. So it's still using that other layout. There we go.
Ooh, look at that.
I do like the look, though. We're getting somewhere on the look, but you can see it's still got them kind of scattered improperly. And that's because the main version over here is still working out the design of how these are laid out. And you can see Manny is on our canvas here, working on what looks like a launch video and an investor pitch deck. So now we're going to see the real parallelization. I'm just learning how to say that word. I see the problem. The current layout creates a clear separation between the downtown ring and everything else. Let me redesign the layout. To create unified city grid where buildings flow naturally from the center outward like a real skyline. Okay, great. So now it's got it in its now it understands. What I'm going to do is where did it okay. A second ago, this thing was telling me, hey, there's some discrepancies. It needs to update from main. There's some changes in main. So this is just telling me, hey, there's been some changes over here in this main version that we don't know about, that we don't have in our file. And that's the new distribution of what's happening, right? So that's the work that that's doing right now about trying to figure out how to relay out these buildings is not in that other project, because when we started this update the 3D building task, when we said, hey, make this more beautiful, we forked the project, right? And so back here, what we're doing is we're working. This is a snapshot of the old main branch of this whole project. So it's a side quest, if you will, right? And so it doesn't have all the context. You can either update this, which I'm not going to do until it's ready, because I want main to be done working before I try to merge any of these things. So again, this is where it can get a little confusing if you start doing a bunch of these things in parallel, especially if they're touching the same parts of the project. But just kind of try to merge things sequentially. And yeah, maybe before you start running 10 different parallel agents, start running one parallel agent and then merge that thing in and get familiar with the, merging and syncing the projects. All right, let's see where the agent is at. Open the preview. The API is working correctly. All right. So we're getting closer. Now we're back to our, we got a grid. We got a grid again. Okay, we're getting closer. This is very good. This is actually good. This is close to where we were before. What I'm going to do now is come back to this. I need to resolve the rebase conflicts. So it's doing some work to
Also,
go ahead.
a good question here. As you're going through the different prompts from it, maybe you want to talk a little bit about the agent modes that you're using, like whether you're in light mode or what setting on autonomous mode you have. Any commentary here would be helpful.
I'm mostly here in power mode when I'm doing this type of stuff. Almost never in max because it tries to run and do a little bit too more than I want for this. Max, if I was going to give it real detailed instructions and just kind of let it ride for a little bit, and let's say I had a real definitive list of things I wanted to get done, and I just put a nice prompt together that was pretty well defined, I would hit max. But for this back and forth stuff, I'll jump back and forth between power and economy. When I'm working with something like this, I probably won't do too much in light mode. Just because I kind of want a little bit more meat here, even though light mode might be okay for doing things like the visual updates and some of the simpler things that we're trying to do inside of here. So I don't know that would be too big of an issue to do that. But yeah, I'm kind of living almost all the time here in power mode or economy. I almost just go back and forth between these toggles. And then when I'm just doing real targeted stuff, I go into light. That's mostly where I live. Every once in a while, I come into max. I almost never turn on turbo, even though I have played with it a little bit when I'm in a hurry or when I really want to juice. But you can spend some real bucks on turbo, so just be careful down there. I almost always have app testing off when I'm vibe coding. So when I'm in the main and I'm just kind of working with the project, almost always have app testing off. If I'm gonna walk away from the app and let the agent do its thing, I might want it to test some things for me. I might want auto testing on. I don't know if that explained anything helpful, but.
We have this question around Elvis in terms of where to access the parallel agents. Maybe you want to show that UI. So if you're new, it's going to be on the left-hand side. So it just might be a little subtle there, but on the left-hand side, you should get a little plus sign to create a new task for a new agent. If not, there's that on the bottom left, there's that toggle for you to change the ways that it pops out for you.
Yeah, so on the bottom left, you can always access this sidebar. And what you'll see here is each of these is a task running in parallel, right? And so the main branch is at the top here, and we can see our main branch has settled. So here we have a main branch that's all good. If I open up the sidebar, I can see the different tasks that are in process. And if I open up my board, then I can see where those are at. So I can see here that this upgraded 3D build with Cyberpunk, and I think Manny just approved the tasks to pop those over into active.
Correct. So what's an important clarification here, when I initially prompt one of these sub agents to start working on this, it's going to cook up a plan for me to review. So it's going to go through the project and it's going to give me a plan, and then I have to approve it so that it can start building. So don't forget to do that.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. So now I'm going to update this from main because now main is done doing its thing. Main is in a good point. It's stable. Now I'm going to come over to my task that was saying, update from main, and it should start pulling in the new arrangement of the bit of the building. Let's see. Let's do that again. And hopefully what we'll do is we'll merge this back into main, and then we'll get this nice visual on our whole project here. So let's try to do that. And then somebody mentioned something about Vibe or something about Tron or something. What did I just see in the?
Mm-hmm. And good comment from Chris here. Yeah, I mean, I think my tagline here is, take boring data and make it very interesting, or like make your boring data come to life. So you have a bunch of this data that's very valuable sitting within your organization. How do you tap that and make it visual, make it engaging, make it interesting? There's like so much you can do here. Yeah. So Chris, great call out here.
Okay, so upgrade the building. It looks like it's stalled here. I'm going to ask it if it can just go ahead and merge with main. Let's see what it does. Only one file to resolve. Already have the full contact. Okay, let me resolve it directly. Go ahead.
And Shackman, yes, you can generate your own data set with Replit. So you can go in and say like, "Hey, Replit agent, generate like a sample data set for me," and it'll populate it for you and set it up in your environment. You could do that as well if you don't want to start off with an existing data set as well.
Yeah, and this might be something to share back maybe on our side for the product folks, because I had to ask it to merge this. Typically, you'll get the option. Oh, booyaka. So there it goes. Now it's finally taken the rest of the design from, there we go. Okay. So what happened is when I clicked in and told it to pull in the data from, to sync with the main version, it got a little hung up there. So I had to like, hey, remind it and get it started again. The agent still does that every once in a blue moon. You just, hey, what are you doing? Did you get drunk? Like just get back to work. And usually it'll work. And so here's apply changes to main. So that's the prompt you'll get. So you'll see now if we go to our board, this is ready. If we look on our sidebar here, it's waiting our activity. And if I come to the bottom, apply changes to main. And so now if we come over here, this main branch, which was our core branch, remember it didn't have the city design, is going to now inherit the new code with the design from that city. And so there you have, and I didn't keep working. I could have kept working here. I just wanted to show this process. It can get a little confusing if we, like if I would have jumped into more tasks. So hopefully there you go, a full version of working in a separate branch, bringing that over in real time, re-syncing with your main, and then publishing the changes to that main branch. And so now we have a big city grid. I like how it looks, but it's a little too evenly distributed, if you ask me. It doesn't feel like a city, right? So let's start a new thread. If you're watching live, we start a new thread to clear the context of the agent's chat, right? And so what we want to do here is, let's say, okay, everything looks good. I see the new design of our city. However, everything is set on these perfect grids, and the building distribution still looks way too even. All the buildings are about the same height. We need to create some deviations in the way we render these buildings so that they all look proportionate like a city, and then distribute their position on the map randomly so that we have different buildings with different heights kind of scattered around the entire city, not some very consistent distribution. Sometimes when we prompt, we just talk to the agent and then we lose track of what we're going to say. Okay, if you're watching, I'm also just using Whisperflow. You can also just chat with the agent here directly. I use Whisperflow because I use it throughout all my workflows. So you're just literally, I just chat with the agent in real time. We just talk. Let's see. I have to say that Agent 4 has been doing a better job with my app than Agent 3, even though I started on the ladder. Yeah, there you go.
And Reimar, some folks have been asking if they can see their particular building. So I jumped into one of the subtasks and I just dropped that in to agent to like plan that out. But that might be also another cool feature to add is, like for example, KG wants to see, said he wants to see his shanty
That's what I
building.
so here's what I Manny, you asked me the other day about admin and logging and gating permissions. So one of the things I thought we could do is I mean, again, we could spend as much time as we want on this trying to get it to look like this, which I've already done, right? So like the difference between here and here is just grinding with textures and aesthetics, and you could go a million different directions here. What might be fun to do with the rest of the time is to go through into the Replitopolis. I'm going to close this one, into the real one, and add login with Replit and let people visualize their projects as a little city. I think we could get that done by the end of the stream, where people could then come to this site, log in with their Replit account. That would give the BigQuery their user ID, and then they could plot their little city. Like that might be fun, and I bet we could get that done by the end of the stream.
That would be cool. What is it? Chad, what do you think about that?
What you think about that, Chad? Let's see what it did with our distribution here. Okay. I think there's something happening where it's like just adding these little spires to the top. I'm not sure where those are coming from. Let me ask the agent. Because I think it's just adding height to these buildings, which shouldn't be there. You see what I'm talking about? Oh, and then Manny's got investor pitch. What? You got a pitch
on the
for
canvas,
us? Bro, let's take a look. Let's take a look at what the
Investor
agent put together. Investor
presentation.
presentation. Every building is a builder. Okay. 50 million developers. Yep. 0 ways to see the collective scale and energy of a community. No spatial metaphor exists. Okay. All right. So it's kind of outlining how it works. Technology stack, 3D rendering, the data pipeline, Google BigQuery. So it kind of outlined how's it being built. The monorepo architecture, API layer. Yes. Okay. Buildings rendered in real time. Yep. 3 subscription color coded, data refresh. All right. Maximum
kind of
floor
cool how
for
it structured the
it
presentation
just
well.
pulled all this stuff, right? Yeah, it just pulled all this stuff out, right?
Started with a pain point, like what's the problem that we're solving? I just told it to build an investor deck.
And what was your prompt? Let's go look at the prompt. Create a slide deck I can share with potential investors for this project.
That's it. Right, I think we're different than you. Your prompts are like all detailed, and then like SQL queries in there. I'm
Let's
like,
make money.
Build me a deck that's gonna get me money from investors. Go, agent, build
Let's do it. I'm gonna apply these changes to main, which is going to bring this back to the main version. And then what we'll see is up here, right now, we only have one artifact. So we have just our different creations here. If I go to the library, again, you can kind of see the different artifacts that are available with the project. And when that's done merging, you will then see the slide deck as an additional artifact in our preview here. Let's see. All right, let's give that a second while it's working in the background. Yeah, dude, let's see. Slide generation should allow the Repliteers here in chat. We create a live stream village. Yeah, that's a good idea. What if there's a housing development off to the side? That's what I'm talking about. Adding auth to shame always adds problems. Hold up. Adding auth. Okay, I think we got to do it. It's trying to make them all the same height. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, Ruth. It's messing up a little bit. The added ones with no windows. Yeah, I think it's like just trying to like add a little thing at the top that just normalizes the height. Show me the money.
Chris is here. Like, yeah, my prompts are like 3 sentences. Reimar 3 books. But Reimar's efficient, and also he's got to build this like right out of the gate. Like me, I can play around with this stuff, and you get the hard stuff too. I got like the easy fun stuff: presentations, launch video.
Well, and the stuff's in there, right? Like the depth of it's kind of in there, like the project data is already in here. You're just kind of like having to explore. If we would have tried to get to something like this, like show me Replit user data, except for make it a city, we could do that. You want to see what that prompt might look like? Okay, let's do this actually. Let's try a Manny prompt on doing the same thing. Okay, let's use the BigQuery. Hang on. connector, show me Replit user data except for make it a city. Let's just send
Man,
it.
that's a Manny prompt right there.
All right, we're gonna check in on this shortly,
What's he doing?
just to see what's good.
How
What are
far you
people
get
saying
there?
about where we should build? Should we continue here, or should we? Okay, there we go. Or should we continue on the other? Let's build a little villages with auth. So here we have the slides now. Let me zoom out a little bit because it's a little chaotic here when I'm zoomed in and I've got all this stuff open. So let me zoom out just a bit here so you get a normal experience of what the UI would look like. And now we can see our library here on the side, in the top right corner. You've got the ability to see and go to the slide deck or the website. And same thing at the top here. I can go to the pitch deck or this, or I can go to the canvas and see them both. And if I wanted to, I could say something like, can you throw all of the slides on the canvas for me from the slide deck so I can edit them individually? And I'll just throw that out there. And I probably should have put that in a new chat prompt, honestly. I probably would have started a new chat for that if I was working on my own here, but no big deal. Oh, and what's cool, is the pitch deck showing me the live app? Bro, your pitch deck actually, maybe this is, hang on.
No,
hang on.
And then
It might
I think some
just be
folks are
stuck
asking
between the view hairs.
around customizing it. So someone wants to do this for their campus, which I think there'd be a way to do it. I mean, if you go to like Google Maps and take like a 3D screenshot of your campus and then like just specify which buildings are which, maybe like you could style. I think you could style it. You just gotta drop some screenshots in some directions, but I think you could do that. Shabbat.
Yeah, it might be you could if you had a limited number of buildings, you might want to use a different type of model. There might already be like a Apple Maps 3D model or something like that you could use. Let's go out on the canvas, and here we can see the slides all being dropped in on the canvas. Which again, I just love this. It does look like it's having a little bit of a mistake where it's right now it's currently rendering that instead of the slides, it's just rendering the app in each slide. So we gotta holla at the and it could be this WebGL thing is just doing stuff that has not been fully tested with slides, because we're using.
This is a really cool tactic, right? I didn't know you could do this. So you grab the slide deck and you had agent drop all the individual slides into the canvas, so you can edit them individually. That's really cool. So then, if I edit one of those pages, it automatically updates the presentation.
Yeah. So for instance, those slides we were looking at the beginning of the stream, they are here in the canvas, and I think it's probably not running because the app just kind of stalled out. But once we get this thing running again and go back to the canvas, then you should be able to see. Interesting. I wonder if my
a reset or something.
Yeah, I think because it's just been quiet in the background. The agent's just kind of sleeping on me, so I just got to restart the project. And then we'll reload the preview when that's ready.
Yeah, become the need. Yes, we are working hard to make multiple artifacts available for pre-agent for apps. Top of our list. I know there's a lot of demand for that, so be patient with us. I'm sure that it's going to roll out soon.
Okay, so Replitopolis launch video is ready. We must see this.
Let's go.
Let's see what it came. Every building's a builder.
And if you're noticing, it's using the same context, like in the pitch deck, in the launch video. Super convenient.
Yeah. Okay, so it's kind of taken like the slide deck, animated slide deck video. Okay. And you can make edits to this. You could, again, apply the changes to main. You could dismiss that. You could leave it as a task. One of the cool things is like when you're working with these in the task board, let's say I didn't like the launch video. I could just cancel this and no harm, no foul on the video. Or I apply the changes and now that's in my main project as another artifact. So that's, again, that's a cool thing we can do. Let's get back to main here. And let's come over here. Let's show people, because we're gonna need to let's do this. Because we're gonna walk through. This will be a fun exercise because we'll walk through adjusting the SQL query. we'll walk through kind of making some refinements to this and letting people log in. So let's just spend the rest of the stream seeing if we can build that little mini villages here. Okay, I'd like to add the ability for people to log in with Replit on this application. We're going to use the native Replit auth to let people log into the system, and specifically we want to grab their Replit user ID so that we can make an additional query and filter the results by the individual user, so that instead of showing their prompts and checkpoints, we would just show the different projects that they have active as individual buildings, and each of those buildings would be a mini version of the city that we have created. So to recap, we're going to let people log in with Replit auth. Then we're going to narrow our SQL query to create a filtered city view based on their unique user ID. And that city will show their usage, but instead of one single building, we will represent all of their different projects as smaller buildings. Okay, so I'm going to add here my official don't write any code, let's just talk about this. This is how I almost start every single prompt. In plan mode sometimes, in build modes, you often see me do this. I almost never send a prompt and just YOLO the thing, especially for something like this. I want to test my assumptions. I want to see what the agent thinks. I want the agent to go through the project and think about, you know, what are we looking at? What's the data set we already have? What's the best way to approach this thing, right? So before I just tell it, hey, I want to do this, I'm going to ask the agent, how should we do this? Let's just talk about what I'm asking you. Again, this is where plan is good. But asking it specifically, even if you're in plan mode, asking that question or asking some semblance of that question, what am I missing? What do we need to think about? What other, you know, ideas could we implement here? Like all that is good stuff to add and ask on top of your prompts. So let's see what this says. Here's my understanding of what you're after and how the pieces fit together. City shows one building per user ranked by active metrics. Okay, data comes from BigQuery via the API. Yes, what you want, a login with Replit button so visitors can authenticate. Once logged in, we grab their Replit user ID. We make a different BigQuery. Instead of aggregating across users, we query that specific user's individual projects. Yes. Each project becomes its own building in a personal mini city, so the visitor sees their own usage broken down by project. Yes. The query shift is significant. Bum, bum, ba-dum. Okay, right now the query aggregates per user, checkpoints, prompts, projects. For the personal view, we'd need to aggregate per project for a single user. The usage billing and user prompts tables would need to be joined, grouped by REPL rather than by user. The building height could represent something like checkpoint count or prompt count within that project. How should the two views coexist? A couple of options. So this is stuff that I hadn't thought about, but this is good questions. The default view stays in the global city, what exists now, and logging in switches you to your personal city, or logging in adds a toggle so you can flip between global city and my city. I think that's probably it. Building size in the personal view. Okay, actually, what I would like to do here is we already have filters set up for the query. So I'd like to make the pricing filter admins only. So the first person who logs in should be an admin, and there's a pricing query that should only be available for admins. The rest of the filters can be available for anybody who logs in. And then we should add a personal city filter here, or a button that says, show me my personal city, that just takes them into this second query. Okay, and the reason I'm saying that is because I built this as a tool for us internally. So I have the ability to see how much people are spending, which we don't want to be public. I also have the ability to upload a CSV of user details. So we could make I was thinking, like, what if we wanted to make a city? Like, what if we wanted to show the ambassadors on a map? Or if we wanted to show only people who were part of this live stream today? We could theoretically do that. And I would just need a list of all your user IDs. And so, yeah, again, maybe we can add that, but let's just finish working through this. Okay, that makes good sense. So make sure I have it right here. Here's the flow. Authentication roles. Add a login with Replit to the app. Yes. The very first person to log in gets flagged as admin, stored in the database. Ooh, we about to race to the login button, y'all. Everyone after that is a regular user. Admin panel changes. The plan tiers filter. Okay, become admin only. That's not what I told it to do. The Replit employee toggles, I assume this should be admin only since it exposes internal data, or should regular users see it too? Okay. Everything else, metric selector, okay. For the plan tiers, we can leave the free core and pro toggles. We can hide the Replit employee toggle also for admin only. Everything else should stay the same. Maybe we can remove the upload CSV and user IDs. Let's just leave the time window, the ranking metric, and the plan tiers. But we can hide the Replit employees, the pricing data, and the upload CSV list for admins only. Okay. So again, as I'm reading, I'm answering questions, right? This is why the whisper flow is so good, because as I'm reading, now I'm going to go back. You saw I stopped reading halfway through because I just want to answer its questions. And now I'm here, personal city. Okay. Add my personal city button in the panel, or maybe in the main heads up display. When clicked, it runs a different BigQuery scope to that user's ID, returning their individual projects as buildings. Yes, this is correct. I want the show my building or show my village button to be in the main filters, not on the HUD, not on the heads up display. Okay, and then it asked me a question here. Should the app require login to see anything, or should the global city? The global city should be visible to everyone when logged out. The only thing logging in does is give the users the ability to filter and then see their custom little village. Okay, so it's probably going to come up with a little plan now because I've told it a couple times not to write any code. So it'll give me a little plan here, and then I'm going to tell it to just go for it. Okay, so authentication, Replit auth login, global city visible to everyone, perfect. First user to log in becomes admin. Ooh, we about to race, yeah. Login unlocks the filter panel. Okay, great. Time window, perfect. Ranking metrics, yes. Plan tiers, correct. Building count slider. Okay, show my village button triggers a personal city view. Admin only filters, Replit employee toggle, upload and the pricing data, personal city, bing, bang, boom. Let's do it. Okay, so now we're going to send this off and let's see what we come up with. Nuance, this is why the prompts are so long. Yeah. Yeah, Ruth. For sure. Like if I would have just said at the beginning, build this, who knows what we would have got? Maybe we would have got what we wanted. But that back and forth right there, what you just saw, that little bit of let me read, let me talk, you discuss, I come back. You know, like if you're not doing that, you're just not getting the best output that you can from this. And it cost, what did this cost me? Let's say 3 cents here on this prompt, another 7 cents here, and 28 cents here. So who knows how much in future prompt dollars I save myself by spending those 30 cents, you know, ahead of time, ahead of sending that
100%.
prompt. And now this can run, right? Like this might have been one of those moments where I, you know, like if I was working on my own, I might have just hit max mode and just let this thing run. I get up, I go for a break, I go to another project, I start thinking about something else. I go, you know, what else am I tinkering with? And that's how, you know, like, or maybe I'm in the background and doing other things, right? Setting up more tasks for this project. But that's how, again, I do a little investigation with the agent. I figure out what exactly I want to build after some back and forth, and then we go. You know, I almost never just send it.
Your point, Rymar, like that nuance is helpful when you're trying to like get something exactly like this.
Yeah, and the queries are just not properly established on that last one. Those numbers were not accurate in any capacity. It's because we have to join a bunch of tables. So that the reason I did the SQL query ahead of time, like if you go back to the beginning of the video and you see that SQL query, it's because the data that we have access to is in a bunch of different tables. And so if you just look up at one table, it's like, oh, you know, that's not really it. If you look at a bunch of tables, then you get the full picture. And yeah, again, working inside of this, we're just going to keep working inside of this safe zone over here now.
Good tip. Yeah. So remember, cost like on the initial prompt that we have in the resources link. How much do you think that costs? And then how much do you think the final project costs you? Like the you know, the final
Let's
Replit
go back
city.
to the beginning and we can look through like we usually do. The one that we did here, let's see, presented output. Let's see, worked for 6 minutes. There's $2.36 there. Here's $1.54. So that's about, what, that $4? $4 on this main prompt. Let's see if we come here. And we look, go back. Let's see. Checkpoint made, 8 messages, 18 messages. Let's see. I don't think it gave us a checkpoint there. There we go. Worked for 8 minutes. There's another $5. So what is that? $7? $7-ish dollars. Another 276. So 10-ish bucks.
To get us to an initial
Let's
jumping
see,
off point, it's pretty good.
This one here. Yeah, so $12. About $15. About $15 if we add these last $4 here. So, about $15. Got a cool little visualization. I mean, obviously, you can spend as much time as you want here, You could spend as much time as you want kind of looking through this and trying to get it to, this state here. So let's see where we're at. Let's add the personal city query. And so again, the reason why I'm not scared about like experimenting with this right here is because if this doesn't work, we could just literally roll back and undo all of this. I'm gonna say $150. Oh, you can ask the agent to tell you. I've never tried that. I've never tried to just ask the agent here to see how much it's spent. I have thought about building a browser extension that just does exactly what we do every time we go back and just kind of rolls back, and every time it shows me a checkpoint, it just like keeps the total, a running total, so that on these streams we could just have always like whenever somebody asks, it's like, here's how much it costs for this. Yeah, it would be awesome if Replit had a dollar counter for the cost of each daily session and the total project. Not super important, but it would help monitor cost. Yeah, that's what I was just talking about, is having like a little browser extension that could just kind of do that. All right, so I'm not seeing anything in my UI here just yet. The agent's still working. Let me update admin panel to handle all state, admin gated filters, and the show my village button. Okay, so there we go. Log in. I'm going to log in with Replit. Let's open this in a new tab there. So what I've done here is I'm in a development environment with Replit. None of this is published live out to the real world just yet, okay? Up here, we have what looks familiar, like a little browser bar. And if I click the little button on the right, it's just gonna open that in a new tab for me. And that's just gonna give me the project in a development environment, basically, like if it was live, except for it's running off of this development environment here. And so what that's going to allow me to do here is if I open this up now and I click log in, let's see if it lets me log in with Replit here. It might still be working. Let me update the admin panel props. Okay, so I'm ahead of the AI. It's still doing its thing. Workflow's running. Let me also update the is loading prop, pass to the city heads up display, and check for any issues. And then it's probably got to restart the workflow. So what happens is you might see stuff sometimes where the agent like does some work and it updates immediately on the front end. These are typically front end changes. They're stuff on the client side. They're things that can update in the browser. Anytime the agent's doing something that has to touch the server, the back end, that's where you'll see it restart the workflow. Because what it needs to do is it needs to restart that server so that it takes all of the new changes in the code and blends them into, actually runs them, right? So as the server restarts, it picks up all the new changes. And so that's why probably before this login button wasn't working, and now it is, because the server's restarted, and now I can actually like go in and take okay, so it looks like it may be, hang on, it might be setting this up. Let me do this outside of here. It looks like it's returning me to a different URL than maybe it needs to. Let's go back. Can we refresh?
Cool.
Ooh.
As you're walking through that, address a question from Jesse earlier in the stream. Does Replit have data integrations for training ML models? Yeah, Jesse, a couple of thoughts here. I mean, the question I would have is, where are you training your ML models right now, your machine learning models now? Is it like on Google Cloud? Are you doing it on Databricks? Because if you're doing it in a place like Databricks, you should be able to just call that model in to your Replit environment and use it in Replit. You can also leverage Replit to train your own ML models as well and host those locally. Maybe you pull the data from Databricks or BigQuery or Snowflake, and you update the model, and you have that available to use moving forward, and you can schedule that moving forward, like on a daily basis to refresh. So yes, I mean, I think again, if you're hosting those somewhere else, you should be able to pull those in. If not, you can have Replit agent train those models for you locally and have those ready for you. And for everybody else, in terms of like when we talk about machine learning models, we're looking at data, and we're coming up with a model that's trained off of that data that you might want to use in the future. So if you're like maybe like and you're forecasting maybe like how many credits are people going to use, or how many commits are people going to make in a particular month, you might want to look at the historical data, train some model off of that, and then use that somehow. And so you'll have that model live somewhere. And so again, if you want, you can train that in Replit agent and have it live within your Replit project as well.
All right, so what I'm asking it here, and I'm going to go back and look. If you remember before, we didn't have any database tables, right? And so now we do have a database table because now I'm logged in. And you can now see this show my village button. But when I clicked that, it didn't actually show my village. Let me see if it actually, so it's still loading. So what I'm going to come back and ask it is, it looks like the personal city is not rendering. The personal village is not rendering. Okay, let me fix this. So it's trying. Okay, so sometimes this is where, okay, so another little trick. Sometimes when you go clicking around ahead of time, or when you go clicking around before the agent's ready, you will fire off things. Like I fired off a request to show my village, and I imagine that that something in the logs now, it saw, right? It saw something in there that it's working on, and it realized what I'm trying to do didn't actually work. So it's trying to think through some of that, right? That's where now let me fix the metric mismatch, adding projects. And then we also need to update the my city routes, probably because it saw me click the show my village in here, and then it didn't do that. And so the agent has access to the logs in the back, the console, the API request, everything that's happening inside the application. And that's where, again, it gains its context, or how it decides how to move forward. And so sometimes clicking around can be not great, because you might get something that's not finished yet, but also sometimes you might give it a little bit of extra context while it's working that it might have not had ahead of time. This still may not work. So I'm going to send this prompt, but I'm going to give this a second just to see if it does load. I lied. I'm going to send it right now. Let me check the logs. Okay, so that's what I told it here. I said, looks like the personal village is not rendering. Can you check this manually? We should be able to just grab the user ID from their login and run it through our query. We have a user now. Can you test this? So name ID not found. Let me look at the query and also check the logged in user in. Okay, there's my user ID. Now let me see the query itself. Okay. So this is where, it's got to do a little looking to see what is back there. What can we do with it? Does that column exist? And so this is where we were talking about at the beginning, where you can just talk to your connectors. This is kind of it, right? The global query only uses REPLs for counting projects. It doesn't reference ID column. The personal city query guesses there's a column called ID, but the table likely uses a different name like REPL ID. Let me find the big query. So now it's going to start going and look to see what the schema is. Let me write a small script file. Okay, great. So now it's going to start testing. It's going to start digging around back there. It's going to see, hey, what can we find? In the meantime, I want to address this question. An estimate of cost before it actually does the work would be best case scenario, but that's almost impossible. Even really good developers suck at this, by the way. Like even people who have been doing this for years, who just, this is what they do, are not good at this. It would be very, very difficult, because there's all these things that are called, so you have like known unknowns, and then you have unknown unknowns when it comes to like software development. And what I mean by unknown unknowns is like things you don't know that you don't know, right? And so if you know that you need a database, well, that's a known, right? If you know that, you don't know something about how that database should work, well, that's a known unknown, But if you don't know that the database that you're trying to build doesn't work with the 5 other databases that you already set up and you're just going to move forward, that's an unknown unknown. What that means is that some point in that project, you are going to run into something that you had not thought of that is going to either change the complexity or the scope of the project. And in that instance, everything you thought you knew about your quote changes and goes out the window. And the process of building software is essentially the process of discovering every unknown you can find. And so scoping and quoting software is just not a very easy thing to do. So I know it would be great. Honestly, this would be great to be able to do that, but it's just not. It's not really an easy thing to do. Okay, so found it. The column is REPL ID, not ID. The query used our ID, but the table has. So we had a mismatch in the schema. That's why this Replitopolis thing is just loading. Let me also verify the REPL ID type. Okay, great. The query works now. 16 projects found for your account. Okay, there we go. So it found the projects now. Let me clean up the test files and restart the server. Great. Server's running clean, no errors. The fix was straightforward. Okay. So hopefully here in a blink or two, whenever this starts again, maybe I need to refresh this, send the query again. Let me just go back to the, something that keeps sending me to this mock-up. Something's going on. Let's go to the website again from, there we go. Just so y'all can see that, you know, show village, this is always, oh.
Let's go.
Oh, my little village, y'all. Hello, little village. You cute little thing.
Like a little city. It
It
like a little
does
city,
seem
dude.
like I'm missing some projects, though. It did say 16, right? Ghost chat. Oh, look at this. Your boy spent some time on that one, huh? What else? Build-a-thon hub, Replitopolis, community hub, one prop shot attempt. Okay. All right. So this is cool. So we have it. Okay. This is great. However, our little city here, you said I have 16 projects, but I'm only seeing, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the screen. Where are the rest of my buildings? Also, maybe my little village shouldn't have big skyscrapers. They should look more like smaller village buildings. And maybe we get rid of all the cranes except for one. Just in the personal village, not through the whole thing, just in the personal village. Okay, so, I mean, there you go. We've got, oh, back to global city, nice, okay. I wonder, hang on, let's turn, it's because I'm admin, because that I'm seeing that stuff. I wonder if that probably doesn't apply here if I'm, let's see if it takes me back to the global city. Or if these have any impact on my, there we go, no changes. Okay. Let's see, the building component, understand the intro delay of -1 is handled. That's likely why only 6 show. I don't know how to calculate it. Okay. All right, so it's going to work and do its thing. And now we can, you know, where are we at? 134. So it took us, you know, 30-ish minutes of tinkering and messing around. Look at those shadows, though, by the way. You see that? You see, your boy spent some time with the lighting on this.
Oh, nice.
That's it, yeah.
Next, you get a little like day and night transition.
What's that?
You can add some day and night transition. They have like,
yeah, we could add a sun moving across it.
Kind of like a Minecraft kind of thing.
Yeah, and I wonder if projects created, that would, I wonder if that would change. Okay, so it's not, is this showing my city view? Oh, here we go. Some different, nope. Okay, same setup. Also, the checkpoints are coming in just generally with just general data, so it's not giving me, you know, checkpoints just related to me. Interesting that, okay. Let me look at the city building. Okay, so yeah, something's in here in the queries, returning 16 initially, but not in the view here. So we'll see if we can get that fixed. But what's coming in the comments, Manny? Any comments, thoughts? Like what should we be focused on?
Dario wants to know if you can log in yet.
Oh, I need to publish this. Yeah. Let me get this figured out here. The height curve gives rank 1. Okay. Yeah, let me get this sorted here. And then yeah, I'll publish this. And then I might go off screen to publish this because again, it's going to be a race to the first person to publish becoming an admin. So we'll take it off screen. I'll publish this. I'll become the admin. And then I will share it publicly. That's a thing I do all the time, by the way. I say, hey, just assign the first person to log in as admin, assuming I'm always going to be the first person to log in. But I'm not saying that's best practices. I'm not saying that's sound from a security standpoint. I'm not even saying that's something you should ever try. I'm just saying that's how I roll sometimes.
Mm. Can you just like put your email in there and say like, this is the admin person?
You could absolutely do that. You could just say, let people log in and I'm going to manually flag myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, whatever. That's probably the smarter way, is just manually toggle the admin. But who's going to log in before you? I mean, come on. For a project that's never been published?
Well, unless you're in a live stream.
Unless you're live streaming and pulling in live data, yeah. How can you transform this into a useful smart city management in 3D app? So you could, if you had mapping data, you could map this to a real spatial map. It might take a different rendering engine than what we're using underneath here, right? Like right now, I think we're using like some kind of 3JS. But yeah, you would need another like underlying technology, I think, for the core of that. But you could make this a 3D game. You could add an airplane to this. You could do lots of different things inside of this, including mapping it to a real map. You would just need lat and long coordinates, and you would kind of need to know how to just put that together. Which again, you could probably just ask the agent, like, hey, if we wanted to do this, how would we do that?
Chris has got a helpful hack here or technique here for admin. Just add admin user into secrets. So create a secret. This is the email for the admin person, and that's locked in there. And then Dario says he always gives himself super admin, and then others have admin rights. Yeah, there's different ways to think about this.
Okay, so it's still work. Oh, there it goes. Now I got rid of the crane. And it's still, what it's doing, I think, is probably the scale is what I told it. There we go.
Oh, here we go.
What I told it initially, and the reason, like if I go back to the global city, I really wanted to create some separation between the top 10 users here. And that's where we got these like really tall buildings. But if we go back to the village, I think that separation, so it's basically creating like an artificial little bit of separation to create some extra, size for the larger buildings. And I think what's happening for the smaller buildings is that separation is causing the other ones to either render tiny or just not show up. So let's see what happens here after it restarts the app. We'll go back to my village. All right, we're getting close to a nice little village here.
Yeah, it's a little suburb.
Okay, I can see the global city loading correctly with the rankings, compilation errors. 3-day time window. You actually have only 6 projects. Ah, that's it right there. It's the number of projects, you dingy. That's restricting the 6 cities or the 6 buildings. There we go. There we go. There's my little village. You little Replit builder, you. Okay.
That's so cool.
There we go. There's all the little there's the agent 4 deck. Even though it's not following the same rules for my other city, right? It's not following the same rules. So okay. So my little village looks nice. However, it's not following the same layout rules as the big city, which means buildings are ending up on top of each other. They're ending up covering the road grid. We need to make sure that our little village follows the same layout rules as the big city on our map grid. And it would be good if we could, let's not complicate it. I was going to tell it maybe we shrink the size of the, I was going to tell it we should shrink the size of the square grid to fit inside of this, but let's not do that for now. Let's just send this. And yeah, this is cool. This is like, I wonder what else we could do. What other suggestions? Give us more suggestions in the chat. Let's go look at the Replit Live. We said, hey, suggest some features. Let's see if anybody suggested some features. Let's go look. Keep building on the new app. Okay.
Done.
Okay.
There was a question earlier in the stream, Reimer.
Yep.
If you maybe want to take a look at it. I just put it on. I just put it on the on the screen here. But can you elaborate a little bit more on the React 3 Fiber and 3D animations? Are there any other alternative tools that you would consider in Replit?
Yeah, I think you could this is where you could do a little bit of research and just, go find like what's the best game engine or 3D visualizer for the thing I want to accomplish. Right? For what I'm doing here, this was kind of the one I wanted. And actually I don't even know because I just asked, like, hey, what's good for this? And this is what it came back with. But if I were like, let's say, building a um a video game engine, or if I was trying to do something else, I might look at specifically what library do I need for that? What rendering engine do I need to use or do I want to use? And we could maybe ask that. Like if I open up another thread here and um, let me hang on till this thing is done, and I'll ask it in a prompt, and I'll say, hey, let's say we wanted to turn this into an interactive 3D game. What would we need to do, or what would we need to change? What I also want to do is it looks like it kind of scattered my city around a little bit. I like it. I like it. But I liked it when it was a little more dense, right? Do we liked it when it was a little more dense or no?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it kind of spread it out a little too much. Oh, hey, look at this. I can pick the project
In real
itself.
time. Hmm.
Oh, that's cool. Just because I had that baked into the other version, the fly-in.
That's cool.
CSV wheel spin. You all remember that? Oh man, this is cool because sometimes I forget the stuff that I build.
Yeah. And some folks are asking about changing the styling of the building, and you just prompted it. So you just describe what you wanted, but I'm sure you could drop in screenshots as well. So
Yeah,
Mez, just like, just describe what you want, drop screenshots, agent will pick it up.
yeah. Let's we could maybe do that. We could queue up. How much time? We got a little time. Let's okay. Let's do this. Okay, so this looks nice, except for our buildings are a little too far spaced out. It was nicer when the village was more dense. Can we go back to respecting the road grids and everything, but having the smaller village be a little more dense in the map so it can be centered? And the crane should always be taller than the tallest building in our little village. Also, the crane should be centered. Okay, so I'm going to send that. Manny, what was your last thing that you just said?
Around styling. So
Styling.
like
Okay.
people want to customize this a little bit more.
Yep, let's do it. Let's try.
So like maybe something like, I don't know, like and I would say you described it, you're like, hey, you want it to be more village like, but earlier you also added screenshots. So those would be the two avenues that I would go.
Let me do this real quick and say, what would I need to do if I wanted to turn this into an interactive game? Let's say I wanted to make this a playable interactive game where I could put characters on the game board, maybe drive a car around, fly around. What would I need to do? Could we do that with our current infrastructure, our current rendering engine? What type of changes would we need to do in order to make this work? Okay, I'm going to add my, I'm going to just add that. And then inside of here, let's wait for this to come back and let's do it. Okay, so now it's more dense. I like that. And now let's clear this out. Woo! That may be a little too dense. I did tell it to respect the roads, didn't I? This is where I get a little frustrated. I'm gonna have to fight. But it's probably, like I'm being a little sloppy with some of my prompts here, just because we're on the stream. But let's go back.
Ruth would like you to add a Godzilla.
Put some respect on my grid.
Ruth, maybe like a battle between Godzilla and some other, like King Kong or something. We did talk about adding like a web slinger in your buildings last time.
Yeah. Okay, so you built everything, again, sitting on top of itself. It's not respecting our city grid or the roads. What are you doing? So sometimes I just get fresh with the agent too, sometimes when it's a session like this, we just gotta, let it rip sometimes. And you're right, I apologize. That's right, agent. How dare you? People can't even drive in this city. Okay, and then I'm not going to spend any more time on that. I will fix that later. What I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on these buildings. Okay, so let's go find some images. Let's go find 3D city, 3D village. Let's find more villagey type
Ooh,
stuff. And
yeah.
let's see if we can add, what do we like? I like this. That might look
Mm.
that might look too much, but
I
let's
feel like the
just try and
Minecraft
see.
aesthetic would be kind of easy to implement because it's kind of boxy.
Well, let's see. Okay. 3D village, Minecraft images. I'm gonna test the agent.
Go for it.
I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna say, hey, let's add some textures. I want this to feel like a small, more like a village. Let's add an image there. Let's find what other. That's kind of simple, and I want to go too. Oh, this one. This is nice. This is like. There we go. This one might be a little too simple, but we'll give it some options. Give it some options, and then maybe one more. Let's find one more image to use here for our village. That's kind of nice if it was a little bigger. I like. I like this. I like this. I don't know what this is going to do, but let's go for it. All right. So let's see what it did. Let's go to my village. It's still covering the roads. Come on, you ding dong. We're going to have to fight. Don't make me
Here we
take you
go.
out back. Okay. All right. I will fight with that later off stream. I will fix that later. We're not going to mess with that. Let's start a new prompt here. Again, we're going to clear the context. And then I would, let's not type this. I would like to update the design for when we go to the personal village. Instead of these urban buildings, can we make this look a little bit more like a smaller village or township rather than a big city? I would also like to make sure that our buildings respect the road grid and don't sit in the middle of the roads. Cars cannot drive through buildings. Our main city respects this, but our small city does not. We need to make sure that this city does not sit on the car grids. But mostly, let's focus on updating the styles of the building. There we go. See, you just got to be faster than the agent, and then you can send in follow-on prompts. Chris, don't even start with this. Is this official? Reimar has been beat? No. Are you serious? We're looking at this. What?
I think you already got the W on this one, dude. We're just
the W
this
done,
is
baby.
bonus. This is bonus.
The W was before we even started. The W was done.
You just running up the score at this point.
That's right. Pineapple Village. Oh my. Oh, gargoyles and Gothic architecture. That could be fun.
That would be cool.
Make a game defending the city from missiles in current, i.e., current affairs.
Here we go. Put in an Iron Dome, dude.
That's right.
Implement Iron Dome in my city that represents like attacks, like like.
So I am thinking about how can we gamify this? How can we like let people explore villages? Could you drive to my village? Could I drive to your village? I don't know. Let's see. Okay. Now I have a clear picture of the current code. The personal village currently uses compute city layout with compact true, which gives a small grid but uses the same road grid system. The buildings use urban style shapes with brick, brownstone, terracotta styles. Let me look at the full scene rendering to understand the ground traffic for village mode. So I wonder if because it's shrinking this, it's got it on a smaller grid, but it hasn't adjusted the city grid to match that. And that's why it thinks it's not driving on the roads. What's fun, by the way, if we want to talk about W, let's watch these cars, by the way, and you will watch them drive on the roads and actually follow the grid pattern. That took some time. That was not baked in the cake. Let's see. Can everyone log in? I can't log in either. It asks for my login account. I input and nothing. Would be cool to have an airport and planes take off when someone deploys. Yeah, well, it's probably because you guys are trying to log into the development environment if you guys are logging into anything. I have not published this yet. Better yet, launch pads and starships take off when someone deploys. Yeah. Okay. I like that. I don't think we're gonna get to that, but let's see what this does with it. Let me add the village specific facade texture. Let's see what it does. New village shapes, peaked, gabled roof, chimneys, cottage proportions. That's what we want. Village specific facade textures, wood, plank patterns. That's what we want. Proper road grid spacing. Yes, let's go. Village specific rooftop details like chimneys and flower boxes. Oh man, let's see. Are we about to get surprised? Let's see what the agent does here.
This is going to be good.
Oh. All right. That does feel like a little, it needs a little bit more variety, I think. Let's just see what it does. I like some of these little top services though. Oh, what happened though?
Here we go. Big reveal here.
This is when you need it to like
Somebody wants a rooftop beer garden.
a rooftop beer. We need like gondolas. We need like a ski lift taking you from city to city or something.
Yeah.
This is supposed to end in 10 minutes. There's no limit. There's no official timeline for this. We probably should have ended this an hour ago. I'm kidding. Yeah, we stay as long as you stay. There's still 261 of you watching, so I hope we delivered on the goods, on the promise.
Yeah, like Jack McF. Yeah, we met the goal an hour ago. That was like
right.
Pretty straightforward. That lovely prompt you had, which is available in the resources link.
Yeah, if you go to the description of the video itself. So if you go into the video in YouTube, oh, that's not the one. If you go into this video in YouTube and you go into the description, this link here, this live build will take you to this site here. That's got the polls, it's got the example sites, and when we're done, we'll have the live link to the site. It's got the prompts in here if you want. It's even got the SQL query that we used. This will be worthless to you because these are not databases you can access. Actually, I don't know if that's a security issue or not, so I'm just going to pull that. I doubt it is, but you never know. All right. Show my village. Aha!
Here we go.
What's up, little village? My little
All
village.
right.
My little village is looking nice. And look, it's respecting the roads a little bit better. Not fully, but just, what did it just do? You see that? It like snapped. It like did a thing and then it snapped again. All right. So this was the fighting. By the way, now it's putting it on the roads. It literally put it on the roads. Look at that. To the opposite. So in one direction, it is respecting roads, but in another, it's not. And this is it, y'all. This is just, now you fight. Now you wrestle with the thing. Now you just like go back and forth and figure out, update the ground texture to render differently in Village. Oh, okay. So maybe it's going to change it could be doing its thing, right? It could be reintroducing a whole new grid. I'm not really happy with these thin buildings it's created for me. Yeah. But here we go. We got a little village. I actually, I don't want to publish this. I'm sorry, folks. I'm not happy with this. And I don't want to do anything that I have to undo by letting you all in. So let me just hold off on this. We'll have this for you. We'll have this for you on the Friday stream. I will have this finished and cleaned up for Friday stream, and the village will be beautiful. And we'll figure this out. I don't want to publish this and let people log in, go check their village, and then not have access to this if I then dump it. So yeah, just give me some time to work this out properly. I'm glad I'm not the only one who has to brawl. That's it. We always just, you got to wrestle with the agent sometimes. Oh, hey, look at that. That's a warm little villagey feel. It's doing its thing.
Still working.
It's still working. Sometimes, and then it's going to restart. Let's see what happens. Cool. I can wait. Make it nice for us. Yeah. Let me do that. I'm right. Send an email when it's ready. It'll be ready Friday for the stream. We'll have an updated version Friday for folks to log into and check out. We'll add it on to our announcement Our big
Dario
announcement.
wants you to go another 2 hours, dude.
Who?
Dario wants you to go another 2 hours.
Another
Reimer would
2
do it. I think you could go like 8 hours, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, I do like. I mean, this is. I love this stuff. I spend time wrestling with the agent all day long. If you look, if we look at the charts, you will see Rymar at the top of the charts regularly. So I spend a lot of time in here, and I think it's fun to let folks watch the actual struggle happen. Right? In my mind, this is the how you get the stuff you actually want out of this thing. And you gotta just go back and forth. Yeah. Yes, when we link, join, and log in using Replit account, it goes nowhere and does not show logged in, and there's no place to enter session code. Oh, you guys are talking. Yeah, you're talking about the
polling app.
polls. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're trying to access the polls. There's no links yet, folks. There's no links yet for this. You cannot access this yet unless you were opening the development environment, which you would have had to astutely be watching my URL earlier in the video. Okay. So here's what it did. Here's a summary of the changes. Building style. Okay. Created 5 new village buildings. Okay. Shape, simple cottage with A-frame peak roofs. Okay. House, flat top, gable, ba-ba-da-ba-da. So it just created a bunch of different shapes. Added village specific facade. Man, that was a tongue twister. Village specific facade textures with wood plank pattern, small divided windows, and setter mullions. I didn't even know mullions was a word. Oh. And front doors on the ground floor. 8 rustic color configurations, reduced village building heights, disabled urban rooftop details, road grid compliance. Increased block inset, okay. All right. Now it's time for a screenshot. Okay, we're getting close. However, the buildings are still sitting on the roads, as you can see in our screenshot. Also, our trees are now on the roads. I think our calculations are absolutely bonkers. We need to look into how these houses are laid out and compare that to how the grids are set up in the big city and make sure that our houses never end up on the roads. Also, you got rid of the cars. Do people not drive in villages? Why would we get rid of the cars? The village still needs cars. Let's put those back. Command Shift V. Oh no, is that not working? Hang on, folks, 1 second. Whisper flow. Oh yeah, okay. That's interesting that it wouldn't let me copy that in here. Okay, what else do we have a problem with? Also, I would like to see a little bit more variation in height of the projects. The projects all look the same height, and they've kind of got this weird, skinny, horizontal proportions. These need to look and feel like real buildings. Okay, so this is it. I'm just going to sit here going back and forth with this thing, literally with little nuances and little details like this until I'm happy with it. And then, we either go to sleep or we don't. That's kind of the grind.
Merch suggestion from Jack Makes Apps, a Replit plushie for punching. Like, we do need like some sort of stress ball or something, right?
Like those desktop things you just
exactly, squeeze.
Listen, if my prompts ever leak into the real world, I'm canceled forever, y'all. Sometimes I'm not very nice to the agent. Sometimes I'm very delightful. Most of the times I'm, pretty, just amicable. But once in a while, me and the agent have words.
And just as we're talking about merch, Francisco drops back in. So
Francisco, he's like, hey,
somebody say merch? What?
He's like, hey, we got to cut this out. Y'all have crossed the line.
Exactly. You got pulled.
We're running out of bandwidth.
Got paged.
There's no more internet left. Oh, that's funny. Yeah. Let's see. Can we all just remind this was still a BigQuery database and not been designed to be a designer or graphic designer? Yeah, 100%, right? Like we're building visual tools and like 3D game engines and WebGL visualizations and stuff. And like, this is a database like Chris is saying here. So yeah. Glad I'm here, not the only one who grawls with the agent. We should start a support group for folks who, have been abused by the agent. I'm always fighting with the agent. Days of Rage, then awesomeness.
Days of
Yes,
Rage.
this is it. The emotional up and down of messing with this thing. You saw it last week when we were playing with our chat app, and then it like worked, and that like we unlocked it. So yeah, that was cool. Oh, yo, Replit, what happened with that custom keyboard that got teased during the build-a-thon? Francisco, that's a question for Chu. Really helpful to understand the intended user journey for core users. It feels like credits run out before reaching a shippable app. Is core meant for MVPs, demos, or production-ready builds? Listen, one thing you always have to understand about the way plans work in Replit is you're just paying for usage. So core, you're just paying in advance for $20, $25 worth of usage. And pro, you're paying for $100 worth of usage. And so if you use more than that, then you have to pay more. If you use less than that, then you pay less. But it just depends on what you're trying to build. Like if you, like we went through the cost of this and we showed that, it was like $15, I think, to get started with what we built. Often the projects that we build usually are $10, $15, $20 to get off the ground. So yeah, some of the stuff we build, you could build with the core plan. Some of the stuff you're going to need to be in the pro plan or buy additional credits. And yeah, that's just the thing you have to understand about Replit and a lot of these AI products is like, you're not just paying for a SaaS product, you're buying compute. You're prepaying for compute. And so you have to kind of think and adjust a little bit of how you think about the pricing for this stuff. Manny, did I miss anything there?
Yeah, I think it depends on how complex your app is, how efficient you are. You showed some techniques in terms of how to plan first, chat with agent, and get a good plan before you let agent go off and build something. So, different ways to optimize and to be cost efficient with building.
Yeah, right. And then you just have to decide how deep you want to go. You can go crazy. I before I joined Replit was spending, I don't know, I think my biggest month was like $1,700 was kind of crazy to think about. But it led to consulting contracts, it led to projects, it led to different things. And like, it was a net positive for me, right? I spent the money, I invested in myself. I have this crazy skill set. It opened up all sorts of doors. It opened up all sorts of projects, so yeah, I think you have to just, think about what's within your budget, what's within your wheelhouse, what you're trying to do. And then be judicious. If you like, you can easily just go in here and spend so much time tinkering where you like, maybe waste credits on stuff that is not meaningful. There's this idea of like productivity porn where like now we have this, thing that can just build anything for us. I see a lot of the like OpenClaw folks doing this type of thing where they're building all these intricate systems that like don't really do anything. So you can really get lost thinking like you're accomplishing stuff and not. And so that's what I would, caution folks to think about is like, hey, you know, is the things I'm doing in here things I should be doing, or have I thought about why I'm doing this? Especially as you're paying for some of this stuff, it can get expensive if you're just kind of, thoughtlessly throwing things into the project.
Mhm.
Okay, I like this. It did adjust my grid. It's been working diligently in the background here. And it's adjusting the grid based on how many buildings I have. I really like that. That's new, and I didn't ask it to do that, but that's new, and I like that. I don't like that all these buildings have this like arrow type roof, so I'm probably going to do something about that. I would like some diversity in our roofs, and also the colors of our buildings all kind of look the same. But again, we're over 2 hours here. I'm not going to spend a bunch of time on the stream wrestling with this, but you can see how you could just go again from state to state to state. Maybe we need some nicer cars in here. Let me go see what happened over here, because we asked this about the gaming stuff. So let's close this loop before we close down the stream. Great news. Your current tech stack's actually really well suited for turning this into an interactive game. Oh, what you already have working in your favor. You're built on React 3 Fiber and 3JS, which is the same stack people use to build browser-based 3D games. Oh, you also already have a 3D scene with a procedural city layout. That's essentially a game world. Y'all, we may stay on for another hour. Orbit controls and a camera flight assistant. So you already have camera management, animated objects, cars following waypoints, construction arms, so the scene isn't static. post-processing effects, ambient occlusions, tone mapping gives you that polished game feel. Ooh. So the rendering engine, totally fine. You wouldn't need to swap it out. What you'd need to add, here's what okay. Player, character, and controls. Right now, there's no you in the scene. Okay, this is about to get real by Friday, y'all. Good night. Good riddance to all of my sleep. Right now, there's no you in the scene. You'd need a player entity, a car, a person, a drone, or maybe all three. Maybe you can pick your adventure. Third person follow cam, driving a car around the streets. First person camera, yes. Keyboard gamepad. This is going down, y'all. I'm not doing anything else today except for this. We're going to go into Discord and build this right now. This is very doable in React 3 Fiber. Libraries like React, okay, can help fear physics collision. Right now, buildings in the ground are just visuals. Nothing stops you from flying through a wall. You need, yes, we need collision detection, y'all. Okay, optional gravity, jumping. Yes, we need all of these. I'm getting so excited. I gotta go check my to-do list now. This is the biggest architectural shift. You'd be adding a physics engine layer on top of the visual scene. Street level navigation, okay, game loop and state. Right now, the app is a data visualization. It fetches data and renders it. The game needs a game loop, update, render cycle. Okay, great. Interaction system, clicking a building currently shows stats in a HUD. In a game, you might want richer interactions. Entering buildings, triggering events, pick up, we won't get that crazy. Performance, your current scene already has 80 plus instances of cars and procedural building. Okay. Yo, this does get hot when I'm working on my laptop and I'm on this site for a long time. Bottom line, you can absolutely do this with your current. Okay, so we could probably do some like real silly little stuff. So I'm probably going to add a little car you can drive around in the city. I'm probably going to add an airplane you can fly around the city. And then we'll see, what else comes of it. So I will 100% by Friday tinker with some of this.
Frank says, what is sleep?
What sleep is for the, yeah, we'll sleep. Show my village. I love this. I might make it so that it's 30 days by default. Let's do this. Let's go back to main. This will be the last thing we do. Can we make the filter default to 30 days when I'm looking at my village rather than the 3 days we use for the building for the main city? Also, can we get rid of the number of cars? We need to tone this down to just be a handful of cars when we're in a village. Okay, so again, I think this is just go for days doing this. And a lot of times I'll have like 2 or 3 projects up at the top and I'm just kind of jumping back and forth between them. I'm trying to keep my, mental load in order. And this is, once you get to the core, just the same thing we did with this chat, right? Last week you saw us create this chat and get to a certain place. And then what I did was between then and now, just refine it, try to make it beautiful, try to make it seamless, try to turn it into like an actual product that we can share and release as like a real thing that people will use, right? Because there's getting the initial prompt, right? There's getting something like this, and then there's wrestling with it for a week to get it to this, right? And again, that's just, is this useful for you? What type of resources do you want to allocate to this? What type of time do you want to dive in? But hopefully this was, useful to everyone. And I really love this village feature. I think this is going to be a little viral in the community. I think once this ships out, especially what if on the back of this, Manny, we link it to the, to this.
Yeah.
So you can see, your city and maybe we'll, render your stats here in a little view or some kind of thing. I don't know. I don't know.
It'd be cool to get like a preview of your city in their previous profile. You can click into it and explore. But like that's like almost like your banner like going in the background.
I'm going to need to see how I can connect these 2 projects because these are in 2 different projects right now, but that would be cool. Exactly what you said is to render a snapshot of the city, in the profile and have those, have this. And maybe the game is the city comes to life, like this, maybe this becomes a Tamagotchi. Right? Like this becomes like your living city and you got to keep your city alive. Maybe you can invite other people to link cities. So, maybe like I could connect my account to Manny's account and our cities would be next to each other and we'll rebuild Replitopolis as the big city by connecting all of our little cities. I don't know. This really does seem like a fun thing that we could turn into, we can keep building on this as we go.
And this is what Amjad touched on when he was on the show on Friday, the gamification of work. You can make like mundane, boring stuff like really cool and interesting here. You could take it many different ways.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's there's no limit right here. Here's here's an update from Francisco in the background to I think it was KG's question about the keyboards. So the first place gets the keyboard, and then there's 4
That's
extras.
Ruth. Hey,
That's
Ruth.
Ruth in the house. And then there's 4 extra keyboards that will be challenge rewards. So at some level, we will find ways
To
to
ambassadors.
distribute those. Oh, to
For
ambassadors.
ambassadors. Yeah. So for ambassadors, we're going to have a challenge for ambassadors, and there are going to be 4 that we're going to give away.
Nice catch. Yeah, nice catch.
Question here from Techie. I saw. Oh, okay. Can Replit automate spreadsheet? Yes. Like now we have as an artifact option spreadsheets. So like you saw us put together slides and a video, you can also create a spreadsheet, and so you can have agent work off of that. You can also link Replit agent to Google Sheet. So there's a connector that you can sign into, pull in that Google Sheet, and you can have Replit agent work in that Google Sheet as well. So that's a really handy way to get Replit to work on your spreadsheet work as well.
Defaults. Okay, so it did reduce the number of cars. What I would probably do here too is what I did in the city. Like if we go back to the global city, I made sure that cars can only come in on the main roads because they were like driving through the grass. So you know, again, I just spend time refining and tightening up all these little things. But it's defaulting now to 30 days. That's great. It still has the crane kind of in the middle of the city, but that's okay. And maybe what I'll do is I'll have this thing like going around and actually adding elements to the buildings. We have this effect when I'm in the city that like when a building kind of gets a checkpoint, you see these little orange highlights that kind of shoot out over the buildings. Right here, you see one.
Star
We can
Mobile
add-
really wants you to add characters as well.
Add characters.
Yeah. So maybe like it's someone like it's like a NPC you walk up to and it gives you like hints about building a Replit or something.
That's what oh.
Right? Like you
I
just
like
walk
the
up to
l-
somebody and like you chat with them. You can just add
Yeah.
like an AI into that. It could be kind of interesting. Or
Yeah,
like, oh,
I'm-
maybe there's a host at each building that you walk up to, and like it tells you about the project. Like, oh, here's what Rymar built here. Here's the description of what it does. Okay, cool, thank you. Then you walk over to the next building, and like, oh, like tells you about this project.
Yeah, I think there's again like
So many ways you can take.
we're
this,
talking
yeah.
about building a little world here. I think step 1 is 2 things. I want to get in here with a car and drive around. I want to maybe get in an airplane and fly around the big city, right? And then maybe I can walk around. Maybe I can parachute out of the plane, or I can get out on the city level and just walk around. But once you walk in, like once we get down into like, you know, like you can zoom in here, then what happens? Like, look at these reflections, by the way. This is pretty good.
That's nice, dude.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. All right, friends. I think that's probably what do they say in show business? Never leave the audience wanting less. And I think we're right close at the end at the place where, let's leave it here. I will spend some time between now and Friday, kind of, making this look like some Swiss chalet ski village. Maybe we could even have a couple different types of villages. I don't know. We'll see where this goes, but I think this is a cool place to start. I did not expect that this is where we would end with a city and then an individual personalized village, but I like that a lot. And let's leave it there. Manny, any final thoughts from the crowd?
No, people love it. People are saying, bye-bye to your sleep. They have a bunch of suggestions in here. No, I think this is fun. Like, again, the gamification of boring stuff and boring work. Like, you can make everything come to life. And as Chris keeps mentioning, this is boring SQL data or boring BigQuery data that you're taking. Every company has this. So if you just go in there, you can do some really cool and interesting things, and you can make a lot of these things come to life and wow a lot of people internally.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is okay, so go back to the stream we did a couple weeks ago about lead magnets. If this isn't like the magnet of lead magnets, like if something like this isn't one of those things that's just like it's a total toy to come play with, but it has a real functional use case. It delivers value immediately. It's captivating, it's unique. If people log in with this, right, they're they're going to get a Replit account. If they have one already, it's going to indicate to us that they're active in the community, and we can like see where they come into this. If they're not active in the community, it's going to create them a Replit account. So like, talk about lead magnets. Like, this is the definition of what you could want, for a lead magnet. And I'm seeing something in my city. We've lost our second crane. So something we did for our village has cut down our crane boom to only a single crane.
Maybe they just started taking it down, dude. Your city might have some, like, might be sentient
It's
over here.
we've built AGI and it's come to life.
Yeah,
I
it's like, oh, this building is done, moving it to another place, taking it down, moving it, setting up somewhere else.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Time to go build the next skyscraper. But yeah, okay. I think we'll leave it at that. Let's see. Agent can run Unity. Yeah, really good insights here. Great. I hope everyone enjoyed the stream today. I feel like it was a little technical getting started. I wasn't quite sure how I was going to condense, 8 days of kind of tinkering with this thing into the beginning of the stream. So thanks for bearing with us as we got the bones of this. So if you're just joining us, we started with a prompt and we spent, I don't know what, $12 or something like that getting here. I think we went through, Manny.
That's right.
And we did, yep. And we didn't spend a ton of time just designing this. We ended up going back to the original one and building on top of this to create not just the city here, but now the ability for folks to log in. I can log out, and then I can see my smaller personal village inside of Replitopolis. And you know what it might be interesting to do is to connect them somehow so I could still see it in the background, kind of like I'm in the suburbs. Maybe you're closer to the city, the more your usage is. I don't know. Maybe you can have a little like almost like a virtual tour at a home where you can click on the side here, like Google Maps. It's like, go to the next city, go to the next village, go to the next user, whatever. Yeah, this could be fun. This could turn into like a little social network kind of thing where people are just bragging about what they're building. I can click into people's projects. Maybe these open the project so I can actually go see what this person's building if it's public. So anyway, I will tinker with this quite a bit. Thanks everyone for hanging with us. Yeah, we'll catch you all soon. See you on the next stream. Big announcement Friday. And then, yeah, we've got something like 20. I don't know how many. We've got a ton of streams planned moving forward. So, and I might just go into Discord either today or tomorrow and build along and just go and geek out on this a little bit more. So anyway, if you're not in the Discord server, go to the community website and you can go to
And remember, you must have a pro account to
Pro
join the
account.
Discord server right now.
Either pro account or you're coming from the old build-a-thon, or you're an ambassador. Those are the three ways you can get into Discord currently. And so you'll come in, you'll verify your plan level, and then you'll connect to Discord or generate a new link here. If you have any problems with that, just disconnect Discord and then reconnect. And then when you're in Discord, you can claim your linked roles, and that will give you access to all the different channels. There's a video here if anybody wants to watch how that works. So, all right. That's all I got. Thanks everyone. This has been a fantastic stream, and yeah, we'll catch everyone next week.